Good morning, everybody. I'm back. I want to ask you a question, and I'd like for you to answer in the comments. I'm going to give you something to think about because I'm going to talk about one particular aspect of my intuition this morning, how I use it, one of the tools of it. And so this is one that's just come to mind. It's kind of like a epiphany, if you will. So I've had this epiphany. And so I know that there's other tools that we use in our toolbox of intuition. And so if you think of a tool that you use, please write it down or put it in the comments. And maybe I'll do a video on that as well. And if I think of other tools as the week progresses, I'll try to, sit down and make note of that and maybe do a video or two on those. So anyway, let me get right to the chase. One of the greatest tools, at least in ministry, as a pastor, is the tool of fairness. Now, the Bible teaches us, how good and pleasant it is for men and for brethren to dwell together in unity. So there's this wonderful idea that when the church is together in unity, that it's a beautiful thing. So when you're in leadership in a church, or as a pastor or youth pastor or worship leader, whatever you do in your congregation, there should be this desire on your part as a leader, Sunday school teacher, whatever. There should be this underlying desire to make sure that we all work together and we all get along. So what I have found that helps my intuition and has really been of value. Now, this works in business. It works in any field, whatever you do. This is not just for ministry, but you might be on your job. You might be a crew leader, in management of some kind. You might be a CEO. I don't know what you are, but whatever you are, one of the greatest tools of intuition is leveling the playing field, creating an environment of fairness. And I'm not talking about this fake fairness that politics preaches. I'm not talking about, giving special rights to one group and then throwing the rest of everybody else's rights to the dogs to garner votes from this little sect over here. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about genuine equal opportunity fairness. Everybody gets a fair shake. When I first took the church I'm at now, one of the first things I did was give everybody a chance. When you take a new church as a pastor anyway, the first thing that usually happens is people come out of the woodworks, one by one. You go visit, you go take people out to eat, you catch people at a moment of when they're alone. They'll all begin to tell you, well, a lot of people anyway, will begin to tell you, hey, Brother Troy, did you hear? Do you know that so and so did such and such, or the last pastor, he left because so and so said this, and such got upset with so and so you hear all this stuff right up front, and then you hear things like, why is so and so teaching that class? Why is this one? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm new. I'm the new Johnny on the block. I don't know none of you people. So, there are a lot of preachers that go into a church, and the first thing they do is they hear some tidbit, and they just run with it. Oh, so and so's bad. I better do something about it. Oh, so and so's out to get me. So and so might cause trouble. So I'm going to just nip that in the bud right out the gate. So that's not how I operate. For one thing, you don't know who's telling what. You don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know who's lying. You don't know who's exaggerating. You don't know who's causing problems and who's not causing problems. If you don't know those people, the best thing to do is give everyone a fair shake. So, I had ministers in my church. When I first came here, I had probably 7 or 8 of them. I mean, there was a lot of preachers in my church. And so I rotated, every other Wednesday night. Let them preach, let them preach, let them preach. And because I didn't want them just to sit there and feel like, well, I never get an opportunity to speak. Because I've sat in church. I mean, I have been a lay preacher, where I sat in a church under a pastor, and it always was nice to feel like, that the church appreciated my ministry occasionally. And so if they give me opportunity to speak, it was wonderful. I felt good about myself, and it kept me kind of in practice, I guess, or it kept me in shape. So it kept me studying, it kept me going, and because I wasn't always just preaching every week somewhere. Sometimes there was a lot of dry periods where I just kind of just sat at home, So I say that because, I know these preachers were a lot the same way. There was a lot of times they just weren't out preaching and doing things other places. So I would try to encourage them here. So I give everybody a fair shake. I give everybody an opportunity. If they were qualified for a position, I give them the opportunity. If the church wanted to vote on them for that position, I'd promote them. I do this, but in the background you hear people talk, oh, he don't know what he's doing, so-and-so's he's going to find out, he's going to this. So, and you hear it from all sides. You don't just hear it from one angle, you hear it from every angle, This one says they're bad, and these over here says, no, they're bad. And so it's just, so level the playing field. What I've learned over the years is that toxic people hate fairness. They just despise it. They will absolutely come unglued, eventually. It takes some time, but they will show themselves in an environment of fairness where everything's equal. They will rise to the surface. But what I've noticed is those people that aren't, they will stay here on this even plane, and they'll not give you any trouble. They appreciate the fairness. They understand, hey, this leader, this pastor, this manager, whatever, he treats us all the same. He's not putting one above another. He don't care whether, this family pays more in tithes than that family. He doesn't care whether this one, is looked at as more intelligent than that one. He still gives us all equal access, equal opportunities to be what we ought to be in the service of the Lord, or at work, or wherever, We'll always find in this environment of fairness, in this environment of equality, you'll find the toxicity rise to the surface. It will show itself, and it will try to take advantage of that fairness and dominate it, because they don't want anything fair. It's all about them. It's all about their ministry. It's all about what their opinion is, and nothing else matters. And you will find that those people who aren't toxic will remain right there with you in that sphere of fairness because they love it. They appreciate it. They're thriving in it. They're learning in it. They're growing in it. They're taking advantage of it, and in a good way. They're becoming their best selves in that environment. Whereas the toxic, is just taking advantage to dominate. I'll show you who's the boss. I'm the boss here. Don't you forget, I'm the deacon, and you better submit to me. No, that's not how we operate here. You need to go back to the Bible and read the qualifications of a deacon. He's not a brawler. He's not a striker. He is not one to, just be, a dictator in the church. He's a servant. The greatest servant in the church is the pastor. I'm to serve all. Paul said, above and beyond being an apostle, he said, first and foremost, I'm a servant of Jesus Christ, period. All that other stuff, all these titles, apostle this, apostle that, that's worthless if I'm not a servant. So, there's an old saying in Christendom that goes like this: the ground is level at the foot of the cross. And that's the truth. We're all equal. We're all the same. We're all saints washed in the same blood. We're cleansed by the same blood. We came in the same way. There is no way for the better than thou people. There's no way for the lowly people. We all had to humble ourselves and come into this the exact same way. And I'll tell you, there's one thing I can't stand about church, and I'll just be honest with you, and this happens in every denomination. I can't stand the toxicity of passing my legacy of ministry onto my kids. You know, people like Joel Osteen, he inherited his daddy's church. His daddy built that church. Joel Osteen didn't build that church. He just took what his daddy built. You know, Donnie Swaggart took what his daddy built. None of these guys are their daddy, and they'll never be their daddy. But they inherited it. So it becomes a toxic thing of just passing it down generation to generation, you know, but they'll never be what daddy was. Daddy dug it out by the roots. Daddy is the mastermind behind it. Daddy had the brains and the personality to build what he built. These Johnny-come-latelys just think, well, I'll just ride daddy's coattail. I don't believe in none of that junk. You know, get out there and dig it out yourself. Find a level playing field and work in it. Do your best. Give it your best. You know, you're not entitled to anything. You know, that's just the bottom line. And so when you create this level playing field, nobody's entitled to anything over another. Everything is level. But you will see, your intuition will soon find out and pick up on who's toxic and who's not. Just wanted to throw that at you. If there's other tools in your toolbox, please write it in the description. Are there things your intuition uses to, you know, help navigate you through life and navigate you in situations, help navigate you in management of some kind? Let me know. I love all of you. God bless. Take care.